Hey guys, welcome back. So in this session we will learn about what are the Deloitte interview questions and answer. So first question is describe offset and give example why we use. So offset is a clause which is used in SQL query. When using offset, only the first batch of record are returned for a given query. And if you want to retrieve the next batch, you will need to re-execute query with the highest offset value. Like here is the boy, like he want to get the account data, so he want to write a query that select id name from account limit 10 offset 10. Then it will return the record from 11 to 2, not 1 to 10. It will return the record from 11 to 20 because he is using offset 10. Okay, can we convert lookup relationship into master data relationship, and how? Yeah, we can convert lookup to master, but we are not converting lookup into master. Then any of the lookup field should not be blank. If there will be blank, then populate the value in lookup fields and then convert. If you want to convert the lookup relationship into master data relationship, then firstly you have to you have to check that key if there any lookup relationship lookup field are not blank. If it is blank, then populate the value and then convert it into lookup to master. So third question is how to find that which record is inserted and updated in batch class. So to use save result class like database.save result, sr list is equal to database.update first data comma false, and there is success method which find the successfully record inserted and get error method used to get error from the failure record, and by using get id method we can get the failure record id in class. So in by using the database.save result we can get the which record are inserted or updated in batch class. How to use REST API in Salesforce. So REST API is a simple and powerful web service based on RESTful principles, and it exposes all sorts of Salesforce functionality via REST resources and HTTP methods. For example, you can create, read, update or delete like CRUD operations, record, search on query or data. So retrieve object metadata and access information about limits in your org. So REST API support both XML and as well as JSON. What is REST API in Salesforce? So the Salesforce REST API lets you integrate with Salesforce applications using simple HTTP methods in either JSON or XML formats, making this an ideal API for developing mobile applications or external clients. So Salesforce also supports Apex REST API, which lets you create web services on force.com using Apex. Like here the definition is HTTP method what we are using, like get, post, delete, put. Get method is used to retrieve data identified by your URL. Post method is used to create a resource or post the data to the server, whatever the data has to be post to the server. Delete a resource identified by a URL, and put method is used to create or replace the resource that sent in the requested body. Why REST API? Because REST API has a lightweight request and response framework, so it is easy to use and it's great for writing mobile and web apps. Like it is the best suited for, this boy is pointing that best suited for browser or mobile applications which do not need to high access of amounts, like it will work as a XML as well as JSON format, and it is synchronous and authenticated with auth 2.0. Here's the anatomy of a REST API call, that is http colon // na colon .salesforce.com service slash data. Here the object has account and account ID. Like here, from this to this, it's a Salesforce instance, and from service data to version 41, it is the API tab. What was the API tab you were using, and is the version name. And here's the object API subtype, whichever the subtype or object, and account is a object, and it's a record ID, whatever we are fetching the record ID. Standard REST API in Salesforce. So REST API is one of the several web interfaces that you can use to access your Salesforce data without using Salesforce user interface. With API access, you can perform operations and integrate Salesforce into your applications as you like. Here the standard REST API to insert, update, delete a record by REST API without any code. Create custom REST API in Salesforce. Here the custom REST API that at the REST resource URL mapping is equal to URL, HTTP get, HTTP post, HTTP patch, HTTP put. And here the use of what is the use of at the REST resource URL mapping is equal to URL defines a class as a custom Apex endpoint and its action as a read, and HTTP get defines the function to be called via HTTP get used to retrieve a record, action as a delete, and HTTP put used to create a record, that is action as a create, and HTTP patch used to partially update a record, that is upsert, and HTTP put is used to fully update a record, that is update. Here the example of custom Apex REST API in Salesforce, that is at the REST resource URL API account global with sharing class. Will create it will create a class that HTTP put the method at the rate HTTP get global static account to get what are the response are to be getting, and string account number that the request URL substring that you can use the last URL last index. After that, query the record, whatever the record are to be queried, and return result. Here the method for HTTP delete, same as the HTTP. Here is the HTTP get. Here's the method for HTTP delete account, and here the method of HTTP post account. How to post, how to be delete, and HTTP get. As you can see, the class is annotated with at the resource URL mapping, the base point, and for Apex REST is Salesforce HTTP Salesforce instance for the here the anatomy of the Salesforce. Okay, the URL mapping is appended to the base endpoint to form the endpoint for your REST service. For example, in the class REST endpoint is HTTP / instance.salesforce.com. Okay, what is custom metadata and how do we use custom metadata? So when to use custom metadata and when to use custom metadata, when to use custom settings and when to use custom metadata. So let's take a simple example that if you want some hierarchy and list related profile or user, then you should go for custom metadata, otherwise you use custom metadata, sorry, it will go for custom settings, or otherwise you should go for custom metadata. If you want some hierarchy or list related profile, then you should go for custom metadata, custom settings, and if otherwise you will go for custom metadata. So both are uses as a cache memory and store the data and easy retrieval of data. So custom metadata is very similar to custom settings, except custom metadata records can be deployed into the other environment, and the common points between custom metadata and custom setting is both of them will stay in cache memory, and which means both of them are very easy to access. So prefer custom settings when there is need for hierarchy kind of things. Let's suppose you have a hierarchy like let's take an example like Amazon. And suppose three type of customer of Amazon, that is prime membership, that is local membership, and something else. So prime membership has getting a 50% discount of all the items, and coming to next, normal membership has getting 20% discount for the, and the no the one which was not created a user, that will get a 2% discount for all the products. So it will maintain a hierarchy that this person gets 50% discount, this person get B person get 50% discount, and this person C person get 5% discount. So if we want to maintain some hierarchy over there, then we should go for custom settings. Otherwise we will go for custom metadata. So get custom object data, list sample object, sample, select ID from sample object. So get custom metadata, list sample MDT, sample is equal to select name from sample MDT. Oh, I need to query in custom metadata. That's so bad, because in custom metadata we need to query to retrieve our data. So in SOQL with, so here the benefits are using custom metadata. It doesn't, it bypass the governor limits, because if you want to query more and more, it doesn't hit the governor limit. Okay, even through you query on metadata, it will not count in governor limits. Here we need to query on custom metadata where custom setting is not recommended. Okay, yeah, SOQL query for a single transaction is 100, and in custom metadata SOQL should not be counted, as we can use unlimited query in metadata. So this is the main advantage in custom metadata. We can use unlimited query in metadata, and it doesn't count in your governor limits. What are the highlights of custom metadata? That is, we can use validation rules in custom metadata. We can use page layout. We assign and we can create lookup to another custom metadata like custom objects. What are the disadvantages of custom metadata? Like custom settings, custom metadata also don't have an option to create custom tab. Need to query to get the data. It's a disadvantage that if we want to retrieve a data from custom metadata, we have to write a query over there. Difference between custom settings and custom metadata. So custom settings and custom metadata. So when we use custom settings and when we use custom metadata. So custom settings doesn't need queries, and in custom metadata we need queries to fetch our data. First point. Second point is that custom settings are easy to access, and in custom metadata are easy to access, but it is easily deployable. Okay, if we want to deploy custom metadata as well as your data, then it is easy to deploy that. In custom setting we can deploy the custom setting, we can deploy the your objects fields, but we cannot deploy the your data from sandbox to production. But in custom metadata we can deploy our data also. So custom settings allow different data for different set of users, like we in case of Amazon, like I can explain earlier. So set of user hierarchy custom setting type. So in custom metadata allows validation rules, page layout, creating lookup relationship with another objects. What is the difference between profile and permission set? So the difference between the profile and the permission set is profile are used to restrict from something, where permission sets allow user to get extra permissions. Let's say, take an example that you have one profile and assigned to 15 different users. Okay, now suppose you want to give some extra permission to one of the users. You have two options here to change profile permissions, or you will create a permission set and assign that user in permission set and give extra permissions. Okay, so first we will see to change profile permissions. By this way, those extra permissions will receive by every user. Suppose there is one profile and it is one profile is used for every 15 users, and suppose if you want in between like 10 A to Z, suppose A to Z users are there, and if you want to give uh, if you want to give extra permissions to user D, So how will you do that? Of if we go for to change profile permission, it will change the all hierarchy. It means that when you change the profile permissions, when we change your profile permission and give access to that permission, it will reflect it to all. This is not a good way. If you want some particular user that your user B has access extra permissions, give the want accept extra permissions, accept all those, then we should go for permission set. So create a permission set and assign that particular user in that permission set and give their extra permissions. Okay, so here the definition is second way is used to create a permission set having those extra permission, and you need to assign this permission set to particular user by navigating to user detail page. In this way you don't have to worry about other users, as only specific user is getting those extra permissions, and you can assign permission set as many users as you want. If profile has read access and we create a permission set with read and write access, then what will happen? So the profile will have both read and write access. So in so permission set doesn't restrict anything, it gives the extra functionality to users, but it doesn't restrict the users. So keep in mind, if profile has read and write permissions, set has read access, then what will happen? So the profile will have both read and write access. We cannot decrease permission on profile, but we can increase permission using permission set. If account has a related list address and there is a checkbox named primary, then record inserted in address, and each account has only one address with checkbox true. If record exit, then in exit already in address with checkbox true and make them false. So here is the code you can refer this, that trigger address trigger on address, that is after insert that set of IDs using for loop. We can iterate a loop. If primary is equal to true, checkbox is equal to done, it will get the query list of address, and you can check that. Okay, moving to next question, that is what is future method? A future runs as asynchronously. You can call a future method for executing long running operations such as call out to external web services or any operation you would like to run in its own thread in its own time. Okay, each future method is queued and executes when system resources become available. That's the way the execution of your code doesn't have to wait for the completion of a long running operation. So here the picture shows up, that is the start method immediate required result, that it will go for yes synchronous processes, and it will go for no, that is asynchronous process. So processing, that feature method asynchronous process include feature methods queuable apex, batch apex, schedule apex, and in case of synchronous processing it will go for trigger. Here the feature meta syntax, global class my class, and at the rate feature you can declare as a class as a at the rate feature, then it will behaving like a feature method. Why we use feature method and provide scenario where you have used feature method. So in Salesforce, feature method are used to execute long running operations asynchronously in a separated. Okay, typically for tasks that involving processing large amount of data and making callouts to external systems, and these methods are annotated with the at the rate feature annotations and are queued for execution by the Salesforce platform. So they are particularly used in scenarios where you need to perform operation that exceeds the limit of synchronous apex transactions. Here is a scenario where I have used feature methods in Salesforce. So mass scenario is mass data processing. Let's say I'm working on a Salesforce application where I need to perform mass update on a large number of records. So this update involves complex calculations that could potentially exceed the CPU time limits for synchronous Apex execution. So that is trigger event, data processing, future method invocations, asynchronous processing, complex and handling regions. So trigger event: when a certain type of record is created or updated in Salesforce, trigger is fired. Data processing: that is inside the trigger handler, I collect the relevant records but that need to be processed due to potentially large number of records. So performing and calculations synchronously might lead to hit CPU time limits and causing the transactions to fail. Okay, so third point is future method invocation. Instead of processing the record synchronously within the trigger context, I invoked a future method and pass the record it to for processing. This allows the trigger to quickly complete its execution and avoid hitting CPU limits. Asynchronous processing: the future method execute asynchronously in the background, processing the records in a separate thread. Since it's executed asynchronously, it doesn't impact the response time of the trigger or other operations in Salesforce. Completing completion and handling request results: once the future method has processed all the records, it has update relevant fields, send notifications, or perform any other necessary actions. So additionally, you may it may log any errors encountered during processing for later review. So that is, using future methods in this scenario allows me to efficiently process large volume of data without hitting epic CPU limits or impacting the responsiveness of the future applications. So it ensures that critical operations can be performed reliably even when dealing with massive data sets. Here the code are given my object on my object account after insert, that is after update. Trigger handler to process the records, list of my handler, collect the records, any condition record to be processed, and invoke future method for asynchronously process. That is this. Here the syntax of the my async processor completes the record, whatever the record object had been, just replace this my object into your custom object and it will work as a same like future method. How to read JSON in your class? In Salesforce Apex, you can read JSON data by deserializing it into Apex objects. This process involves creating Apex classes that represent the data structure of the JSON data and then using the JSON dot deserialize method to convert the JSON string into instances of those Apex classes. So here the basic example of how can read JSON data into a Salesforce Apex class. That is hits your data as a like this in the JSON format, and in the Apex class you written like this: public class person, public string name, public string integer age, public string email. Then you can use the JSON.deserialize method to deserialize the JSON string into an instance of the person class. That is string JSON string that name, age, and job. Person data, person that JSON.deserialize JSON string into person, and you can access the data as a field as a person object. So in this example, we define a class person with fields corresponding to the properties in the JSON form object. We can use the JSON.deserialize method to deserialize the JSON string into an instance of the person class. We can then access the data into JSON object by accessing the fields of the person object. Do you know about SOAP and REST API? Yeah. SOAP relies on SOAP protocol and REST relies on REST architecture using HTTP. So SOAP transport data as an XML and REST API transports our data XML as well as JSON. SOAP is a highly structured type and REST API is a less structured, less bulky data. It handles large data loads, but in REST API it works well with JavaScript. Design in SOAP API designed with large enterprise applications in mind, and REST API designed with mobile devices in mind. What is the difference between role and profile? So role determines what is visible to the user, and profile determines what action data are allowed to perform. That is, like role relies on data level access. Whatever the data has to be access to which user, whatever data has to be access to that user. This type of work has to be done in role. And in profile determines what action that are allowed. It like suppose if we give the object permissions that account, if we want to give the object so that it will only read, not create, not edit, not delete, not view all, not modify one, but only read, that the only select a checkbox that read only, and it will read the record. That it doesn't get interacted with the record, it doesn't get edited the record, it doesn't get deleted the record, the user can't do anything because you can restrict the data. Can we create user without profile? No, we cannot create a user without profile. While creating a user, profile is mandatory for user. What is the difference between insert and database dot insert? And here, so the major difference between insert and database insert, that if you want to import a data in Salesforce, that is, suppose you have 10,000 1,000 records, and if the transaction fail in between them, so all records are not get updated or created in Salesforce. Okay, and if we use database dot insert, if one record fails, the partially rest of the record will execute it parallelly, and re- those with those record are get failed, it will see whatever the records are to be filled. It means that rollback in database.insert are executed, and in insert command rollback are not executed. So insert a DML statement with same as database.insert to insert the record in database. If you insert DML statement in bulk operations, if error occurs in this operation, then execution will start and roll back all the insertion data from the database that those has been inserted successfully. When error occurs, you can't handle this error by try catch block. It's if you use DML database method, database.insert to insert in bulk, then if the error occurs, remaining record will be inserted or updated, means partially operation will be done. Here the just take an example. If you are inserting 4 records, 2 record are all the required field and 2 records are missing required field. So we use database.insert, it will throw an exception and it will insert 2 records which are required field, and it will not inserted 2 records. Difference between database.insert first account dot false and database.insert first account comma true. If you insert records using database.insert first account comma false, and any error comes in between record inserting, like some records are getting inserted due to required field blank, and then this statement does not throw error, while insertion then insert the right record and do not insert the error record. Okay, then this statement does not throw error because you were inserting as a first account comma false, because this false statement execute that insertion, then insert the right record and do not insert the error record. And if you insert database.insert first account comma true, then this statement behave as a insert DML statement. If error comes in between record inserting, like some records are getting insert due to required field blank, then this statement throws error and does not insert any record, that is rollback whole process. If we have a list of integer type and there is 20 items, if you want to display list of table on page, I want to display 5 data and 5 and 4, then how will you display? Like in the pagination control, we can display that data. Here you can reference this code. Coming to next question. Yeah, here's the code. Yeah, if we have 10 data and inserting 10 data and 3 inserted successfully and 4 are failed, then what will happen when using database.insert? So it will insert the success record and not insert the error records. Can we change the pick list data type into text? Yes, we can change the pick list data type into text. How to get list of child data in email template? So we can use cross object email template is not possible in Salesforce. At this point in time, only possible way to display child records details in email template of parent is to use Visual Force email template. It is not possible that cross object email template is it will present in classic email template. No, it is not possible. We can use Visual Force email templates to get the child records and display in your email templates. If there is one object and we create two lookups field related or to user account, and we have three users like ABC of same role and same profile, if we have signed two users in two lookup like A and B, then only these two user can edit that the object C, and cannot be able to edit the record. How will you achieve this? To achieve this, you can use a combination of validation rules and triggers. Here this step by step. I create a two lookup field. You let it call a lookup user lookup 1 and user lookup 2. Create a validation rules or apex trigger. Then after that, here the create a two lookup field. What are the steps to create a lookup field? And here the validation rule works. Here the explanation of this questions. What is having clause? Give the example. So having is a clause that can be used in SQL query to filter result that aggregate functions return. You can use having clause with group by clause to filter the result returning the aggregate function, like such as some having clause. So here the query that for select ID from lead, it will return lead record from ID and name. What is the return type of SQL query? That is list of S objects. What is the return type of aggregation query? That is aggregate result. What is soft delete and hard delete? Using hard delete, your data will not be stored in the recycle bin and it will permanently deleted. By using soft delete, you can restore those data latest within 15 days from the recycle bin. So that's all about it. Thank you. Please hit like and subscribe my channels and comment down below if you get any questions from that. Thank you.